You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them.
This is Massive Late Fee with Mike and Mark.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Massive Late Fee. I'm Mark. With me as always is my co-host Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Not bad. How about you?
Doing good, doing good. We've got our Patreon going, and we're getting some patrons there. Like we told you last week, we've got the Bandcamp going. We're recording this one a little bit early today, so I'm not sure what movie we're going to do next week, but we should have another movie up on Bandcamp next week, and I'll link that below. That's free for everybody. Obviously, if you guys want to, you can pay I think they recommend $1. You can pay whatever you want, or you can not pay anything at all and get it for free. That's our gift to you. But we are the official entertainment podcast of Michigan Sports and Entertainment. We are continuing our discussion of Kevin Smith movies today. First, we'll get into a little bit of news. Just like I said, we're filming this early, so I don't know if we're probably going to miss some kind of news. But I just really wanted to talk about Stan Lee died on Monday, and that was 2 days ago now, or yesterday, I guess.
Yeah.
And 95, I mean, a good run for sure. 95 is a damn good run. I hope I make it there too. But certainly
I hope I go further than that.
Wait, you want to go to like 195?
Well, yeah, I mean, with advances in modern medicine, you never know.
That's true. That's true. I thought about that the other day, that our kids might live to like 160.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're mentally intact, which Stan Lee seemed to be, as far as I could tell near the end.
Yeah, he did. He was doing these Stan Lee rants on the internet. Just these, like, I think it was on YouTube, or might have released them to his Twitter too. Just quick, like 20, well, no longer than that, like maybe 2.5 minutes or a minute and a half segments where he just ranted about something like inane, but a lot of it was pretty funny. But like, I think one of them was about strippers or strip clubs or something like that, and how everyone loves strip clubs.
What is this? What?
Yeah, this is a real thing.
Has he never heard of the internet? I mean, he was posting this on the internet, correct?
Yeah. Although who knows? I'm sure he had a team of people doing that. But yeah, Stan Lee, he will certainly be missed. I know that it's sort of morbid, but I know that he filmed, like, I know you don't watch the Marvel movies, but
Nope.
a lot of he does cameos in all those movies, and I know they filmed a bunch of them ahead of time. I don't know exactly how many, probably 3 or 4 or 5 movies ahead, but they didn't say why they were filming them ahead of time, but obviously it was because
It's going to be a dark process.
Yeah.
Hey, Stan, can we get a few more of these out of here real quick? Why?
While you're still here.
I remember he was in, I don't know if he was in all the original, and by original I mean the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
He was in at least one of them where he's like a pretty funny, like, just cut to him like freaking out. I think it was Spider-Man 2 that I remember. I don't know if he was in the other ones.
Yeah, I want to say he was in all of them.
I hope for his sake he wasn't in Spider-Man 3.
Ugh, God. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3.
Thought you fell to the ground with that noise for a second out of shock.
The best thing about those Spider-Man movies is J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh yeah, he's really good in everything.
Maybe the best casting ever for that role.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really look... I mean, not that you could really have someone, unless you force plastic surgery on people, which I'm all for. They're not going to look like the characters from the comic books. But, I mean, J.K. Simmons is just... he mostly plays an angry guy or an Eminem. Yeah. But he's really good. Like, again, going back to that son of a bitch, Bill Faberbaky, he was in the show Oz.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever saw. I mean, he was Hank Schillinger, a white supremacist, but he was amazing in the role. And you notice in Oz, he's got like the bluest eyes. He looks like a like a fucking Nazi,
Yeah, I know. Seriously, like Hitler's wet dream.
pretty much.
So like I said, since we're recording this early, that's kind of be it for the news today. Obviously, usually we do a little more news, but not today. And we got a lot of Kevin Smith to talk about.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I do have one more piece of news.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if I don't know how many fans are out there on the blogosphere, but on November 15th is the birthday of Macho Man Randy Savage, who sadly is no longer with us, and that's in 2 days from now.
That's right.
Now, they recently found a recording. Oddly enough, he was on the phone when he passed away, and they found his last words.
Oh God.
They were, "Oh no!"
Oh my God.
Rest in peace.
I remember he was in those Slim Jim commercials in I want to say like the mid 90s. It'd be like, "Art thou bored? Snap into a Slim Jim. Oh yeah."
I mean, I think there's a point that's really a monumental point in a man's life is when he believes in professional wrestling, and then when he doesn't. They're like two separate eras that can cleanly divide like your life. Mm-hmm. And like during like the heyday of like the late 80s, early 90s, like I stopped believing it was real pretty early, probably before I stopped believing Santa was real, to be honest with you.
Right.
But yeah, it was just like, I mean, they were just like amazing. He was an incredible performer. I always loved seeing Macho Man, him in like the garish colors he always wear, and just like completely over the top care. He always looked like he was just woke up and like was completely confused all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, him, unfortunately, it's hard to, you wouldn't think of like wrestlers as like athletes, but a lot of the stuff they do is quite athletic, and to do it, a lot of people don't realize is they would often go on tour and do it like, not on before, like they had wrestling on TV every single day. They would like do it, in a different city each night and then just do the exact same thing. And then a few months later, be on TV, they're like, "Oh, I already saw this. The exact same thing happened."
Yep. Oh yeah. And they get injured all the time, it's obviously it's scripted and everything.
Oh yeah. But yeah.
But it's real in the sense that, when someone's, fallen into a table, yeah, the table's pre-cut and everything, but you're still hitting a table with your back.
Yeah. There's like a pretty, there's a pretty infamous thing I read a few years ago about like Bret the Hitman Hart, who just like basically like fell through a table. And I think he broke his back, but just finished the match still.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a lot of it. Sure, there's like a lot of like, tales of drugs and steroids and that sort of thing. But they basically sacrifice their bodies just for, sheer entertainment value, which is admirable in a sense.
Yeah. And I think those drugs are why so many of them die early. Cause it's weird. You see a lot of the, like Macho Man. I don't think he was that old, but
he was in his 50s, but he had a heart attack while driving.
Yeah, that's oh God, while driving. It's so dangerous.
Well, it's not like he did it on purpose.
No, yeah, I know.
Like, damn it, don't have a heart attack while driving. What were you thinking?
What a bastard.
And what's weird with him specifically, and I think a lot of them, is like they like would often like have like their significant others, like obviously the lovely Miss Elizabeth in his case, who died before him, I believe. Of drugs again. Wow. I think she was actually dating Lex Luthor. There was such weird like behind the scenes like relationship stuff too that they just kind of wove into the narrative of the shows, and then when they break up, they still had to perform with the same person and that sort of thing.
Oh God!
I imagine there's like a great movie somewhere and all of that. If you could like have like a true like biopic or even like a biography of like the heyday of wrestling, that's an amazing book out there. That's future authors, get on that. I want to read that.
That's a good idea. Actually, I think that would make a really good book and a really interesting film. If like behind the scenes of, like back in the early, like when we were young, like early '80s to like the '90s
like wrestling. 95. Yeah. I even have a title for it, but if anybody uses this, they have to credit me for the title. Parts Unknown.
Nice.
That's all the best wrestlers were from Parts Unknown for sure.
Yep. Oh yeah. Like
it was in Florida. It was Parts Unknown, Florida.
Oh, that's their state motto, I think. Parts
I
unknown.
think so. Yeah.
What did the police find? Parts unknown.
Right.
So speaking of body parts, um, now we're gonna move into our educating Mike section, and avid listener of the podcast, or there might be more than one of you, will realize that we are on part 3 of Archie versus the Predator. If you, this is the first podcast of ours you're listening to, go back 2 because you want to definitely start at the beginning of this.
Yeah, I would say this might be my most looked forward to part of the podcast.
So as you remember, Mike, last time it ended where all the military guys and Moose and all those guys got killed, while Jughead was dressed up as Veronica as bait, and
Yeah, I remember.
and so it opens up with kind of a weird like narrative where it or narration where it just says, like Riverdale, the sort of sweet little town everyone dreams of moving to when they reach a certain age. And I don't understand what that, like a retirement community. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't think I ever wanted to move somewhere with a malt shop.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm going to graduate college and then move to fucking Hicksville, where some guy can't figure out which chick he wants to fuck.
Every 16-year-old apparently wants to move to Riverdale.
Did he ever say where Riverdale? I assume it's like some like generic, non-existent, like parts unknown kind of. Like, there's not a real like location for it, or is it like California or?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. I don't think they ever really give an indication of what state it is or exactly where it is.
That's fair.
Oh, I forgot to mention last time. By the way, I don't know how I forgot to mention this, but when the cops came, before the military guys went out there, when the military guys got there, they said, "Oh, the police aren't coming because they're all at Sabrina's house, that girl that they went to try to help."
It exploded.
Well, yeah, but they're all at her house because they found a mass grave.
Oh my god!
So apparently she was just a violent
How'd you leave that part
murderer.
out?
I don't
Leave that out.
I don't know. I forgot. But yeah. So
What the fuck?
So Sabrina had a mass grave.
That'd be like a biopic about Max Wright. You don't include a fucking three-way.
So after the narration, we see Jughead just kind of wandering around the wreckage. He gets back to Riverdale High School, and he trips on a piece of cord that obviously was placed there, and this like baseball bat mace springs at him. He ducks under it, and the gang's all there. They think they've got the Predator, but they realize that it's Jughead. So apparently they've placed some traps to try to get the Predator while they're holed up in there.
Some very indiscriminate traps.
Yeah, and so they have this talk, and Jughead, Jughead is being very non-Jughead right now. He's he's crying, he's pissed off. He says that they're all dead. All the people are dead, and he just wants to get out of there. And like Betty says, well, everywhere they go, they're gonna find us. And he turns to Veronica. He says, "No, he just wants you." For some reason, they think he just wants Veronica, and if they all get away from her, they'll be fine. Which
That's weird.
Which all the bit players do. There's like 5 B-list Archie characters that are just like, yeah, we're leaving.
I think all the Archie characters are technically B-list characters.
So, they say that the rest of them say they're just going to wait there for the police. And Dilton, who's the geeky one.
Oh, that fucking nerd.
He says that, the police are gone. And they're like, what? And they said, yeah, they were at Sabrina's house and it's all gone. The house is gone. The mass grave is gone. All the police are gone with it. And he has like live footage of Sabrina's house.
So he probably was watching the whole time, and then he just saw her murder people and bury them in a mass grave and said nothing.
I'm guessing, yeah. And for some reason, there's a cop car there, police tape, and then just a bunch of goats.
What?
Just a bunch of goats wandering around, like eating the grass and stuff. I don't know if they were like goats to sacrifice or what. I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely weird. So, all the rest of them leave, and Dilton says, "We've got to get to the AV room." And
Well, of course, he's going to the AV room because they still have those in high schools.
right.
Let's go to the dark room to do some photography.
But he says, yeah, everything will be answered at the AV room, and Jughead is hungry, obviously. So as they're all going, they pass by a snack machine, and he decides, I'm going to stop and get a snack. So, he reaches into his pocket looking for, or the purse, Veronica's purse that he still has, looking for money, and he says, oh, Veronica never carries cash on her. Then he finds the knife. And we see from behind him the Predator is in the ductworks, like an alien for some reason.
Just a quick pause. That whole thing, like that trope of people in ductwork, that's like the biggest bullshit ever. You could not fucking fit in ductwork and not have it collapse.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking at you, John McClane.
Real quick, there's speaking of J.K. Simmons, which we were a while ago. There's a game called Portal 2 where he does voiceover for a lot of the different parts of this game, and basically he plays the CEO of this company that does pre-recorded messages. And one of
good business.
Oh yeah, but one of the and they're hilarious too. His character name is Cave Johnson, and if you're interested, you should go on YouTube and look up Cave Johnson, and they'll be up there. But one of the ones is they're like in a space station, and they're supposed to be like he says that for all of you that have just woken up from cryosleep and think there's some company-wide conspiracy, there's not. We're in space. We're just doing testing in space. This information is readily available to you if you would ask, so please stop forming adventure parties to figure out the company-wide conspiracy, because it's that we're in space. And in like the second, he keeps coming up like as you get to different parts of the game. And in the second one, he goes, for those of you who are trying to climb through the ductwork to find a secret room to uncover the conspiracy, like I said, there is no conspiracy. We are in space. It is common knowledge. And by the way, ductwork is not some secret escape hatch. It's how we ventilate the facility. Right. And by the way, if you have asthma and you're up there for more than 5 minutes, you're probably going to die because it's really dusty up there. But yeah, the whole thing is hilarious. But anyway, so he pulls out the knife and he decides, okay, I'm going to get this candy bar out with this knife. So he pulls the candy bar out. It actually does come out, like he reaches in with the knife.
What?
And then we see the Predator standing behind him with his claw. We cut back, and Archie's like, hey, where's Jughead? Nobody knows where Jughead is. And, they start running after him. And Dilton's like, no, what I want to show you is in here. So Archie runs out, slips on some blood, falls to the ground, and there is Jughead's head. Dismembered from his body, his spine hanging out, just posed with the snacks.
That's a downer. So
Archie's obviously pissed. He wants to, he says now that he's going to kill the Predator, that he's, this is personal for him now.
Now it's personal.
Right. When they killed Moose, he didn't give a shit, but now that they killed Jughead, it's personal because, as we know, Archie and Jughead were lovers.
Sorry.
So
those comics were the most wholesome.
But so they go towards they're going back towards the AV room. They're all sad, and Dilton is going into this weird monologue about have you ever thought what it's like to be someone like me, Archie? Someone in a school where everyone cares about dating, but no one's ever asked to go on a date with me, and I'm just the geek and all this stuff and everything. He's like, well, look what I did. And he opens the AV room, and there is a giant Archie robot there.
What?
He's built a robot that he can climb into and control that looks like Archie. I guess because he wants to be like Archie and he thinks he'll get women if he's like Archie, but he's also built weapons into it.
What?
For some reason. It's
fucking weird.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, I don't know if he was planning on rampaging through the school with this thing.
And then pitting on Archie, that's brilliant.
And now he just thinks, now I can be a hero and I'll get girls that way. I don't know exactly what his plan was. But he gets in it, and it kind of starts malfunctioning right away.
What?
It fires a big fireball that they dodge. He asks Archie for a wrench so he can fix it, but just then, that's when the Predator crashes in. They spell crash with a K, so you know it's extreme. It's Krash exclamation points in big red letters. So Archie slams it in the head with a wrench. The Predator's not too keen on that. But Dilton's got enough control of the robot that he's able to grab the Predator away from him. He punches the Predator, he shoots a fireball at it, which seems to wound it. He's got one of those metal fists that can just shoot out from the robot. So
his fists are very aerodynamic, as we all know.
So that hits him. The Predator, Archie's sort of in the middle trying to, get away. The Predator gets, Archie with a glancing blow on his shoulder. Looks pretty harsh, but it looks like he's probably going to be okay. He's definitely wounded, but Betty and Veronica are tending to him, and Dilton gets a net around the Predator, and so they're all kind of celebrating. I don't know why, because it's not dead yet, but he's still kind of having trouble with the machine, and the machine wants to kill everyone. That's why I think maybe he's just planning on a rampage.
Oh my god!
Because the thing just keeps
He's
saying,
like, not now, Archie too.
Kill everyone, but Betty talks it down somehow. I don't
What the fuck?
I don't know if it's been programmed with Archie's personality or whatever, but
so is that saying that Archie secretly wants to murder everyone?
right.
He just tried to get with Betty and Veronica this whole time, and they wouldn't give him anything.
But she says, Dilton, yeah. She says, Dilton, I believe in you. I know you can do this. You're not going to hurt me. I'm wearing my lucky scrunchie. And all this stuff. And then she hugs the robot, and the robot goes from kill to saying cuddle. So, they're all proud of him and everything. And, Dilton's like, oh, I'm a hero. And they say, oh, yeah, you're a hero, but they're fawning over Archie because he's been hurt. so they're still kind of just ignoring him.
Well, we saw Archie catch a Predator, not you, fucking dick.
But Milton takes the helmet off of the machine, and lo and behold, the net is empty because the Predator's been able to get out of the net, sneaks up behind Dilton, stabs him through the neck with that ceremonial knife, pulls his head out, spine and all.
Oh my god.
Just like in the last frame of this episode is Betty screaming Dilton, and Veronica saying, oh god, we're actually gonna die. Archie's so fucked up that he's just sitting there bleeding, and we see the Predator from the kind of that cowboy shot, but down from hips down, with Dilton's head in his hand, just
Jeez.
standing in front of him, and that is where we end
Oh
episode 3. To be concluded in episode 4.
Wow, I still say this has got to be the best comic of all time. This sounds amazing.
It is pretty damn good, I have to say that.
The only thing that could have been better is if at the end when Betty is yelling, she goes, Dylan! And then like Archie's like, Dilton.
That would be something. That would be so classic her.
You know what occurred to me this whole time? I haven't heard you mention Reggie one time. Has Reggie been in the comic?
No, Reggie's not in this comic at all. I wonder if maybe he'll save
What
the
if
day at
he's
the end.
what if Reggie's the Predator?
Oh, that could. Yeah, that's true. Where has
What-
Reggie been?
What sense that would make? I have no idea.
Los Predatos.
That's so weird.
But yeah, so now we will move on to our conversation, our main topic of the day, the films of Kevin Smith. Yeah, go ahead.
I say we. What about our what are you watching segment?
Oh yeah. Okay, so Mike, what have you been watching this week?
Let's see. This week I watched the season finale of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, 13th season.
Yep.
This is a really interesting episode. It was kind of like a classic episode from most of the episode. I mean, I know you're kind of getting into the series. I don't know if you're still watching them or what you're at as far as watching them goes. I know you get a lot. Yeah, but I mean, it's just like a very jarring, like not jarring, but just like it completely goes like off track. It's like almost like it goes from like a the over the top like wacky shenanigans tone to like a dead serious tone, which is really it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is I don't know where they're going to go with this next season.
Right.
Because like at the end, like I don't really want to ruin it for you because I mean the last couple episodes, the last couple seasons are really kind of interesting because they develop the character of Mac quite a bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I just don't know how they're gonna conclude, and then the way they did, and then go to the next season fresh, and then like, oh hey, everything's back to normal because the past 2 seasons they ended it in like a way that just completely changes like the main parts of characters we've seen for like 12 or in this case 13 seasons.
Okay.
And go, and then I got another one after you.
Okay. So I have been watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, trying to catch up on that. I'm almost done with the first season. The other thing that I've been watching is House of Cards, and that's the last season of that. I have 2 episodes left.
Los Predatores.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of Los Predators, no Kevin Spacey in this season. He's been written out of the show. I don't think it's a huge spoiler to say, first episode they mentioned right off the bat that he died off screen. At least the presence of his character looms large in this entire season. Like I said, I've still got 2 episodes left to go. But was
this a 5th or 6th season?
6th season.
Yeah, I've never watched an episode. I've read about it. I know some of the main plot points, and I think I know how this concludes, though I know you haven't finished it.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, it sounds like a show that's interesting, but I don't think I'm ever actually going to watch it.
It's the first few seasons are pretty good. I would say, like the first season's probably the best season of all of them. If you're going to watch any one season, I would watch the first season. Yeah, it's it's one of those where it's sort of shaky as far as the quality of it goes. At least I find it that way.
Is it one of those things where like the logic like becomes like so like contrived after like 2 seasons? Like, oh look, he caused I mean, it's a bad example because I mean in Breaking Bad it made sense. Everything in Breaking Bad, as implausible as it seemed, was completely plausible, which was
for sure
a testament to the great writing. But I mean, like, how far can you take? I mean, can people really believe Kevin Spacey is like some psychopath? Come on.
Yeah, he's.
But I mean, is it one of those things like, oh look, he got out of a jam again? Like almost like the show. I don't know if you ever watched Dexter.
Yes, I watched Dexter.
Yeah. Oh my god! At certain points, Dexter it was just like he was almost like a superhero. The way he would like, oh, he's stabbing a guy, and then 5 seconds later, he's completely gone.
It's sort of like that, yeah.
Where they almost write themselves into a corner where they have to keep topping themselves over and over. And it's like, oh look, he shot the premiere of Germany, and then he came back home, and I don't know.
Yeah, they kill a lot of people in this show, and I mean, I'm not going to say that no politicians ever orchestrated the death of somebody. I'm sure it's probably happened. I don't know anything. If anyone from NSA or anything's listening, I don't know any names. I'm not talking about anybody in particular, and it could have been like 100 years ago or so. Has it ever happened? Maybe at some point in our history, but he's responsible for so many people's deaths. And the thing is because it's like a conspiracy show, so many people know about it too. And that's part of the reason why they have to keep killing so many people, because, it's loose ends. So many people know about it and everything. And I don't buy that this kind of stuff could be kept. If this stuff was happening, someone would find out about it and it would be front page news. You wouldn't be able to keep all this a secret.
Yeah, it's like the whole the biggest argument against like the George Bush responsible for 9/11 thing, or the inside job, is that there would have to be so many people involved that you would already know about it, because people can't keep secret. I mean, the only thing like that makes any sense is obviously Ted Cruz is a Zodiac killer. Right. But I mean, aside from that, I mean, it's just like implausible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And, call me old-fashioned, but as far as I'm concerned, the only house of cards I care about is the one the Brady kids built.
Our hands are too slippery. Yeah, but this.
Why were their hands so slippery?
I don't know.
What the fuck were they doing?
I think they were getting to third base too much.
I guess
with those Brady girls. But yeah, they it's I don't know how they would have done a sixth season. I mean, there are different ways you could go about it. They could have, simply mentioned that he died or whatever, and then completely ignore him for the whole thing. They could have brought him up occasionally or whatever, but they seem to have gone the way where they're really just leaning into it. He's mentioned in every single episode, and his death is part of a major plot point of the season. And like his presence is really there, and I don't know exactly how I feel about it yet. I'll have to eventually. I'll give my review on here about it after I'm done with the season, and I take a few days to kind of like think about how I feel about it. In some ways, I think it's kind of brave, what they're doing as far as.
I mean, it's got to be hard. He's been there for 5 seasons, and he's clearly the main focus. I mean, you can't, and they'd be like killing off like Walter White in season 4. I'm like, all right, guys, let's go ahead and do season 5 of Breaking Bad with no Walter White and don't reference him at all.
Yeah, no, it's definitely difficult.
He's obviously, I mean, really, as far as Netflix goes too, he was like, that was a huge get for them. Kevin Spacey at that point when they first got him.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I mean, it was like they were not quite a fledgling network, but that was like basically when people initially got like internet speed so fast that they could like binge shows. House of Cards was one of the first big ones for sure.
Yep. Oh, I agree. Yeah, House of Cards was definitely one of the ones that put them on the map. But yeah, I'll tell you, it's a pretty good season so far. Not the best, but it's I'm enjoying it. I've got 2 episodes left, so we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear your review when you're finished watching it.
So what's the other thing that you're watching?
I do this occasionally. I like to rewatch shows that I really like. Probably my favorite show of all time is Breaking Bad, I would say, just because like it's all like a nice continuity. And of course, Breaking Bad gets better after the first. It took me a while to get into Breaking Bad, but after the first few episodes, it gets really good. My second favorite show of all time is The Wire.
Okay, yep.
My wife, whose birthday is tomorrow, happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
She started to rewatch it, and I don't know if this happens with you and your wife, but she always fucking goes ahead of me when we're watching a show together.
Yes.
I'll be like, okay, we watched season 2, and then the next thing I know is she's like, oh, I'm on episode 8. I was like, episode 8? What the fuck? But so she started rewatching it, and I knew she'd get ahead of me, and that's just what she does. She works a night shift, so she has a lot of time where I'm not with her. That she's watching shows that I'm not able to watch or not doing. But I'm into season 2 of The Wire. That is probably my favorite season of any TV show of all time.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about this, but I hate origin stories. Like the thing that pisses me off about Spider-Man is when they keep rebooting it. They have to go, oh, how did he become a Spider-Man? I don't care. He's fucking Spider-Man.
Yep.
Do I need to know how okay, he got bit by a spider again. I saw that before.
The worst one with that is Batman.
Oh yeah, that is terrible.
We have to see his parents get shot in every fucking movie.
Yeah, I mean, or even I mean, like the Michael. I wasn't a big fan of the Michael. I mean, the Michael Keaton, the first one was good, and then of course they went in like really bizarre directions. I mean, Val Kilmer. I like Val Kilmer in general, but I mean, his Batman was not good. George Clooney, they're just basically just trying to print money at that point.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I like Christian Bale a lot. Again, I don't think they're really super close to the source material as far as Batman goes, but he did a good job. I mean, his voice, where he had his Batman voice, I thought that was pretty dumb. But I mean, the movies overall, Christopher Nolan, I like his movies. I mean, those Inception, Memento, I like, the Prestige. I'm a fan of his work. Insomnia is good too.
Yeah, I like Insomnia.
Swear to me.
But yeah, I mean, it's like I just hate origin stories. I don't want to see the same character telling how he became the character again. So season 2 of The Wire, most of the characters are already established, and there's a lot of, I don't think you've seen The Wire, correct?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so I mean, The Wire it's a show that's slow to get into. It's like I had to watch it maybe 3 times to really get into it. But once you get into it, it's such a nuanced show, and there's so many elaborate elements to it that you really, I mean, it sounds dumb, but you really, really have to pay attention to see what's going on. Because if you miss one thing, you'll probably miss like a huge part of the story.
It's definitely one that's on my list that I'm going to get to.
Yeah, season 1 they focus on like the criminal empire and elements of the city of Baltimore and the police chasing them. Season 2 we have the same elements, but a lot of the focus is on the docks.
Okay.
There's a group of people who work in the union on the docks, and like they see their kind of like way of life is fading. Like there's less people using them. There's obviously like they don't mention it directly, but there's Amazon and like that sort of thing,
Right.
where they're not needed as much, and so they basically, in order to survive, they have to engage in criminal activity. The performances in season 2 are just amazing. I don't know the guy's name. The guy who plays Frank Sabatka. He was in I don't know if you ever saw True Blood.
Yes.
He played Andy in True Blood, the sheriff.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's super like wacky in like True Blood, but he's a really great actor, and in The Wire he's really good. Pablo Schreiber, is that his name?
Yeah, I think
Pablo. So. Yeah, he's in that. He's his nephew. I mean, the performances are really good. The criminal empire just expands. I mean, it's everything in season 2. It's one of the best seasons ever on TV, and it was completely unnoticed by the mainstream like critics and media. It just went like no one really seemed to like care about The Wire when it was on the air. But the season 2 of The Wire, if I wouldn't recommend going into that without watching the first season, because you miss out on a lot. But there's so many like references and jokes, and it's an amazing season. I could watch season 2 of The Wire over and over on a loop probably.
Idris Elba's in that too, right?
Yeah, he plays Stringer Bell. There's 2 main bad guys of the Barksdale criminal empire. Avon Barksdale is like the main guy, and his family is all involved in the drug trade. His right-hand man and friend from childhood is Stringer Bell. It's kind of interesting because Avon Barksdale is like more like a gangster type guy. He wants to rumble and mix it up and stuff. And where Stringer Bell is basically just realizing that at a certain point he realizes drugs are like a super like lucrative empire. There's no taxes. He's basically trying to make as much money as possible, and he's really calculated in his movements and that sort of thing. It's really an interesting like take on it.
I think the guy you're talking about from True Blood's name is Chris Bauer.
That sounds familiar. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. He's amazing in season 2 of The Wire. I mean, I think that's all the characters are at their best. I mean, there's so many good characters. There's so many different storylines and plot lines. It's just like it's super elaborate. But if you have the time to just do nothing but watch TV and not look at your phone, not have a conversation with someone, not think about what you're having for dinner later, if you can focus entirely on it, season 2 of The Wire pays off and then some.
Okay, yeah, I will definitely check. I'm going to start probably in a couple weeks. I'm going to start watching The Wire. But yeah, so that is what we are watching. Now we will get into our continuing Kevin Smith saga. I think this will probably dovetail nicely with the Archie versus Predator thing, because with the number of movies that we have left, I think that we will probably do tonight and then one more episode of it. And, so when we finish the Archie versus Predator stuff, we'll be finishing the Kevin Smith stuff as well. We left off on Dogma, Mike's favorite.
By far.
And we go to one of the most enjoyable. It's probably not my favorite movie of his, although it's up there. But this is probably the most enjoyable film experience, like going to the movie experience I've ever had. Because Mike and I went and saw this movie together way back in 2001, which it's so weird is 17 years ago now. But Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and kind of as we've alluded to a few different times, it's a very complex film as far as the jokes and the inside jokes and the deep cuts and everything goes. I'll just, for people who haven't seen it real quick, I'll give you a quick synopsis. Basically, in Chasing Amy, the comic book artists played by Ben Affleck and Jason Lee, Holden, and Banky had a very popular comic called Blunt Man and Chronic, which were based on the life and stories of Jay and Silent Bob, and they paid them likeness rights to publish this comic book. In Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, they learn that there's going to be a movie made about their life. Comic book movies had kind of sort of just started to get popular at that point. So they learned they were going to make a movie about their life, and they don't want this happening because they see people on the internet talking shit about them and everything. And so they travel to Hollywood to put a stop to the movie. Mike, how about some impressions, or what did you think of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Is this one of the rare occasions that you actually remember going to see this with me in the theater?
Yeah, I remember you and I went, and I think my friend Matt went as well, and his cousin Aaron.
Yeah.
I think they were more like kind of like peripheral fans, whereas you and I mean, I'm not saying they're not Kevin Smith movie fans, but you and I are more like hardcore fans, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we went to the movie theater at Van Dyke and 15, the Sterling Cinema, which isn't there anymore. It's a different movie theater. And yeah, this movie is the best way to describe this movie is it's very dense. Like, I honestly don't know. I mean, it's funny. I imagine you'd enjoy it if you weren't a big fan of Kevin Smith. But oh my God, does this movie pay off? If you're a fan of Kevin Smith and have seen the previous movies and read about Kevin Smith's life and read and listened to the audio commentaries as you and I did, this movie is a fucking laugh from the beginning to the end.
Yeah. Mike's not going to get this reference, but for any of you out there who are fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, this is Infinity War. And by that I mean Infinity War could be an interesting movie if you just come into it having not seen any of the other movies, but you don't get nearly what you get out of it if you've watched all the other movies before then. I think I told you this, Mike, too, that I never watched any of the MCU movies before I started working at Michigan Sports and Entertainment, and because I was never a huge comic book movie fan or anything. And when the Black Panther movie was about to come out, I was like, well, I have this kind of obsessive personality. I said to myself, well, I should watch all of them so that I have context for this movie. So I watched all 18 at the time movies.
Oh my God.
In like a week and a half, I think, so that I could watch Black Panther and review it. But so I got caught up real quick on the Marvel movies. I like them. They're fine and everything. They're not my favorite stuff in the world, but they're good. But yeah, this movie, Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, like we've mentioned a couple times throughout the course of this, there are inside jokes like Ben Affleck being in Phantoms and stuff like that from the audio commentary of Mallrats.
Yeah, that's insane. Like,
yeah.
Ben Affleck is on the audio commentary, and you and I both would not stop laughing over this. They said they're talking about how he was billed on the back of Mallrats, and Kevin Smith goes, "Oh yeah, they mentioned Ben Affleck," and then in parentheses it says from Phantoms. He goes, "Really, from Phantoms?" He's like, "Nah." Because and then you and I watch Phantoms, and it's a terrible movie.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, and there's a joke in here that Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms and stuff, and it's just like these jokes that are so like deep that it's this movie, like you said, dense is a really good word because it's a very layered movie. You can enjoy it very surface level as a standard kind of road trip buddy comedy movie. You can appreciate it on a slightly deeper level as a someone who's watched the other Kevin Smith movies and has a familiarity with Jay and Silent Bob and stuff like that, and you can enjoy it at like the deepest possible level. Where like Mike and I, in the earlier movies, we watched all the movies, plus we watched all the DVD commentaries and stuff like that, and some of like the behind the scene featurettes, and there are just. It's one of those super satisfying things. I used to, I used to watch Mystery Science Theater 3000, and they would, and I think this is kind of the best way to describe it. I used to watch that show when, for those of you who don't know, basically they'd watch a bad B movie, and they'd make jokes at the screen, sort of like what CinemaSins does now, but it was a television show, and they would tell jokes, a bunch of different jokes, and some of them would be like pretty broad jokes just about what was going on in the movie, or like, broad references that most people get. And then every once in a while they'd put in a joke that they know only like 10 people are going to get because, like the frame of reference is so small, you'd have to have watched or heard or listened to very specific things to get the reference that they're talking about and why it's funny. But they would know that those few people that got it would laugh their asses off. And that's kind of what this movie is like. I can see Kevin Smith putting all these things in saying, okay, people that are super, super fans are just going to fucking love this.
That's a perfect analogy because, I mean, I don't know, is it 10%, 5%, 1% of fans would get all these jokes?
Yeah.
And oh my God, these jokes are fucking hilarious. First of all, let's see, it starts off, they're hearing about the movie of Buttman and Chronic. They call Banky.
Mm-hmm.
No, not Banky, Holden. They call Holden about the rights, correct?
Yep, yeah, and they go see him, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like a very quick, and I think Ben Affleck plays multiple roles in this, does he not?
He does. He plays. So does Jason Lee. They both play, Jason Lee does too. They both play. They play their characters from Chasing Amy, Holden and Banky, and then Jason Lee also plays Brody from Mallrats. And
I can't imagine how confusing that is to the casual viewer.
And Ben Affleck plays himself, starring in Good Will Hunting 2: Hunting Season.
Hunting Season. Yep, that's right. And then there's it's amazing. So let's start this off. At the beginning of the movie, they find out that they're pissed because the rights have been, they feel stolen, that they're making a movie, and then Jay and Silent Bob naturally think that, this is going to be a terrible movie.
Right.
So they go to the website Movie Poop Shoot, which is where they get all their movie news.
Yep.
Which is actually a website owned by Kevin Smith.
Yep.
And then, of course, Jay and Silent Bob, and almost like a callback to Mallrats, say, hey, we have to go and destroy this, because in Mallrats, their only motivation to destroy the set of the thing was because they were basically bored. Mm-hmm. And this, they don't want to be misrepresented. These two drug dealers don't want to be taken in a bad light.
Right.
For their movie Blunt Man and Chronic, the two guys who sell drugs and have only sold drugs in all the Kevin Smith movies they've been in decide that, hey, we can have our reputation besmirched.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone calls Jay and Bob ball lickers on the internet, and
yes.
Jason or Jay doesn't like that, and really goes on a pretty funny rant. And they go to a Moopies, which we saw in Dogma.
Yeah. The movie's Golden Calf Restaurant, which is also in Clerks 2,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about later, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah, they go there, and then they have internet access for free, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's in the movie.
Yeah.
And then somehow Silent Bob is an amazing typer, so Jay basically dictates what he wants him to type.
Mm-hmm.
And on yet another deeper level, there's the Jay and Silent Bob soundtrack, which you and I listened to probably 50 times in a row. Not in a row, but
Oh yeah.
every time we would drive somewhere, we'd listen to it. And the speech he gives, I just remember it goes, "You are the ones who are the ball lickers."
Yeah. Yep.
Which is great, of course.
Uh,
Then they decide to embark on a journey to Hollywood, and who do they run into immediately? Oh, wait, this is a family reunion of USQ movies. George Carlin, he's a homeless guy now.
yep.
And George Carlin teaches them the rules of the road. Do you want to explain the rules of the road, Mark?
So the rules of the road are basically if someone picks you up to take you wherever they're gonna go, then you have to give them head.
Which is kind of funny because in the previous movie, Dogma, George Carlin was like a cardinal, the highest, I don't know what the, hierarchy is in the Catholic Church, but it's up there, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Cardinal's probably just below a pope, or is there something above that?
No, I think it's I think it's Pope, Cardinal, and then Archbishop and Bishop. I believe that's how it goes.
Sure. Yeah, so he goes from a cardinal to a guy who sucks dick to get rides on the road. And George Carlin, again, is just chewing the scenery, having a grand old time. I read or heard in an interview that he always wanted to be an actor. George Carlin is a brilliant stand-up comedian. He had a show briefly on Fox, the George Carlin Show.
Yep.
He's an okay actor. He's an amazing comedian. But yeah, Kevin Smith loved George Carlin, and you could hear him just, talk about how much he loves George Carlin. And even after he passes away, he, is just like a huge George Carlin fan.
Mm-hmm.
So George Carlin, if there's any movie that Kevin Smith is making and George Carlin was still alive, George Carlin's in that movie.
Oh yeah, and Kevin Smith knew how to use George Carlin basically perfectly.
Yeah. He's amazing in both his movies. I wouldn't be shocked. Oh no, I would, because Kevin Smith seems to get not a lot of love from critics. But if George Carlin had won a Best Supporting Actor, yeah, I can see that. He's great in both Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yep.
So let's see. George Carlin gives them the rules of the roads, and according to him, a shot in the mouth is worth a drive down the road.
Yeah.
So they do a semi with them, and they let's see, they are having trouble finding a ride. They run afoul of Sean William Scott and a bunch of attractive women. Let's see, they're played by Shannon Elizabeth, Eliza Dushku,
Yep.
Jennifer Schwalbauer Smith.
Yeah, Schwalbach. That's
Schwalbach. That's Kevin Smith's wife.
Yep.
And isn't there one more?
Yeah, the blonde. I believe it's Allie Larder.
I think you're right. Yeah, you're 100% right. That's correct. So they're in the back of the van, and then Sean William Scott, who, if you're into, I know you're watching Always Sunny. I'd advise you skip around personally.
Okay.
Because there's an episode of Always Sunny called Mac Day, and Sean William Scott's in it.
Okay.
Oh my god, it's amazing. He plays Country Mac, Mac's cousin from the country, and he's hysterical in it.
That sounds funny as hell.
But yeah, Sean William Scott plays a kind of like a hippie type guy who plays an acoustic guitar and revels the group of ladies with his brilliant songs about the environment. And so, of course, you didn't realize that they're in a group of environmentalists who are heading to go ahead and disrupt a laboratory.
Yeah, environmental terrorists.
Yeah, and of course I'm out of order here. So before that, there's a hilarious joke where they're at the convenience store and Jay's watching Shannon Elizabeth and Eliza Dushku. And he's Jay, who, as we discovered in Dogma, jacks off more than any man alive.
Yep.
But he's thinking about guys the whole time.
Right.
But so he sees them approach, and he Silent Bob, deftly grabs a large size fountain drink cup and puts it over Jay's crotch area, and Jay a line that just fucking killed the theater. Jay goes, "I filled the cup."
Yeah.
So somehow, some of these beautiful women and Sean William Scott as well take them in their van, and they're driving towards a laboratory, which their plan is to go ahead and free all the animals.
Mm-hmm.
So Jay, not being a big fan of competition, devises a plan to pretty cleverly trick Sean William Scott into saying that he would love to fuck a goat.
Yeah.
And
He seems all too eager to agree to it, by the way.
Yeah, he's very, very into it. So they basically just throw him out of the car.
Animals.
And then I could be wrong in the sequence of this because it's been a while. I mean, it's a great. I love the movie because it's a fucking like love note from Kevin Smith to everyone who's obsessed with him, which you and I have certainly qualify for. Do they go to the laboratory first, or do they have that sequence, the Scooby Doo sequence?
I think they do go to the laboratory first. I think the Scooby Doo thing is after that.
Yeah, you might be right. So they go to the laboratory, and the whole thrust of their visit to the laboratory is that they're going to free these animals. And who do they free? A chimpanzee.
Yep, named Suzanne.
And Suzanne is a fucking throwaway joke. At the very end of Mallrats, they say Suzanne. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was entirely based on this song they had from the band Weezer called Suzanne.
Yep.
Which plays right at that moment on the.
Yep.
So this little tiny joke that almost no one would get is, oh, wait, look, we have a chimpanzee named Suzanne.
Yep.
But while they're freeing Suzanne, the women who claim to be environmentalists are actually robbing a jewelry store?
Yeah, I think it's like a diamond,
importer or exporter.
Yeah, something like that. The animal thing is like a cover to like a diversion, basically.
Oh yeah, the whole time they had Sean William Scott as their rube, but he was cast out of the van because he wants to fuck goats.
Right.
So instead, Jay and Silent Bob are the perfect men to set up.
Yeah.
So.
And they start getting chased by Will Ferrell's character, who plays Marshall, Will, and Holly, which is a play on Land of the Lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the three characters in Land of the Lost are the Marshall, Will, and Holly.
Yeah. So they basically trick Jay and Silent Bob, and Jay especially, into making a promotional video sounding like they're a terrorist group that specializes in environmental things, which of course is hilarious because their group is called what is it? I
think it's the Coalition for the Liberation of Interred something with a T.
So they're asking Jay, they go, hey, what do you want to say? I am the Click Commander. And they have Jon Stewart. I don't think he was on the Daily Show at the time, was he?
I think he was. I think he had kind of just started on the Daily Show at the time.
Yeah, so he plays a reporter who's broadcasting this video about Jay going on and on about how he loves the clit and he's in charge of it, but he doesn't realize that he's actually saying he's like the head of a terrorist organization that wants to liberate animals.
Right.
And that's another great cutaway joke because they cut away to Ben Affleck, who was playing Holden at that time. Mm-hmm. And then when he goes, man, it's times like this that I really miss dating a lesbian.
Yep.
This is a funny joke, but it doesn't make a lot of sense because, I mean, he didn't really date her, in a context where he was, with, other women and her or anything like that.
Right.
They basically broke up pretty quick. So they basically divert all the attention to Jay and Silent Bob, and then the women, kind of make, they make their own separate way away from the Jay and Silent Bob. But Shannon Elizabeth and Jay kind of develop like a attraction at this point. Mm-hmm. Her character's name? I have no idea.
Ooh. Well, that's a good question. Let me think if I can remember it.
Jesse? Just something with a J. I remember it was on that soundtrack you and I listened to constantly. Mm-hmm. But while you're thinking about that or remembering that, Justice. Yep, yeah, that's right. Justice.
That's why she wears glasses, because Justice is blind.
Yeah. So after that, I think that's when they have their encounter with. I don't know if these people are like famous actors or not, but it was like obviously a reference to Scooby Doo. Mm-hmm. there's like four like young like late teen early 20s. They're in a van and they're like super fucking high as shit. There's like smoke pouring out of the van, which is always implied in Scooby-Doo but never overtly stated.
Right.
And again, another joke, inside joke to Scooby-Doo was that Velma was really like hot to spend some alone time with Daphne.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, they go to like some weird like cafe that's almost like a boxcar type cafe.
Yeah.
And Will Ferrell, as you mentioned before, he plays Marshall Will in Holly.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably one of his first movie roles. Do you know what year Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back came out? You said 2001.
2001, yep.
Yeah, so I mean, he was not freshly. He was on SNL for a few years though, but I don't think he was in all that stuff before this movie.
I don't think so.
Night at the Roxbury, maybe?
I know he was in, Night at the Roxbury was like 98. I know he was in Austin Powers in like a very small role.
Yeah, he was very funny, but very brief role.
Then he was in that movie Superstar. I think that was like 99. But again, he had kind of a small role in that where he was...
the jock that Mary Catherine Gallagher wanted to get with.
Yeah, and that wasn't a super popular movie or anything. I believe Zoolander came out the same year as Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I'm not sure which one came out first, but obviously,
I'm not sure.
Obviously, coming out in the same year, though, these would have been two of the definitely like the bigger roles in bigger movies that he had for sure.
Yeah, he was pretty present in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. So he kind of confronts them at this weird like diner type thing, and they escape, of course. And then after that, I'm trying to think where they go. They go to Hollywood, correct?
Yeah.
Do you remember why? I don't remember. Is it for Suzanne's sake, or are they trying to?
No, they want.
Oh no, that's why.
They want to stop the movie.
They want to interrupt. Yeah. So they. Oh, there's another very sly reference when the van they get in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it is though. It's like an animal type van. Do you remember it's like an acronym or there's like an inside joke there? I cannot remember what it is right now.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head either about the van.
Yeah, so they get in it with Suzanne, who's been following them the whole time. And then they make their way to Hollywood.
Yep.
And then Mark, do you want to take it over from here?
Yeah. So basically, they go around the movie lot and they're looking for the Blunt Man and Chronic, soundstage where they're filming, and at first they run into they get into it like a chase with Diedrich Bader plays a security guard that sees them and is trying to stop him, and they wander into a fictional production of Scream 4, and Wes Craven's there, and I think I believe Courtney Cox's cameos there too, and then they run into the one we mentioned earlier, the Good Will Hunting 2 hunting season, which is hilarious because you've got Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are there and they're playing themselves, playing these characters, and they get Gus Van Sant there as well, who's sitting in the director's chair. This is one of the best parts, and he's just counting stacks of money, just counting bills, and like Ben Affleck looks over and he's like, "So, are we good to go? Action, Gus, and everything." He's like, "I told you, Ben, I'm busy," and he's just like counting this money. So they're like, "Okay, whatever, let's go," and stuff, and they turn Good Will Hunting 2 into this like action movie and everything, which is hilarious.
Which another callback to earlier, the blonde guy, I don't know his name.
Mm-hmm.
The one who's like, "Oh, you did a good job. You did good, Will Hunting."
Yeah.
Too. He's also in Oz.
Oh yeah, that's right, and that's the original actor from Good Will Hunting as well.
Yeah, I've never seen Good Will Hunting, but yeah, I've heard that, and that's kind of like a funny like joke.
But yeah, that is true. A lot of good people were in Oz. But they eventually end up finding Jason Biggs and James Vanderbeek,
Yeah, I forgot.
who are going to play Blunt Man and Chronic, and they reference that Jason Biggs is the pie fucker from American Pie, because this was only a couple years after American Pie had come out, and it was hugely popular and everything, and so the director is played by so they incapacitate them, and then they take their place as Blunt Man and Chronic. And the director of the film, I think his name is Chaka Luther King or something like that, was played by Chris Rock. And Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself, cameos as Cockknocker, the villain of Blunt Man and Chronic, who's got this.
Why do they call him that?
He's got a giant steel fist or whatever, and he uses it to punch people in the cock.
Yeah, and there's there's another reference to, obviously, Mark Hamill's a Star Wars reference. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a Batman reference too, because he was amazing, and we've mentioned this before, Batman the Animated Series, which is another Kevin Smith obsession. And Chris Rock was, of course, he played Rufus in Dogma. Mm-hmm. So he kind of sprinkles in these actors from his previous movies.
Yep. They.
And I think is it Banky or Brody's on set when he goes there? I think it's
Banky is, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, Banky.
Yeah, earlier in the movie, they go to Brody's comic book store at the end of Mallrats.
Mallrats.
They do this whole montage thing, and they show that Brody's taken over hosting duties on the Tonight Show, and so when they go,
better than Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, no kidding. So when they go to his comic book store, if you notice, on the very back wall, there's a Variety newspaper. This the Hollywood newspaper, for those of you that don't know, with all the Hollywood news. But on the very back wall, you can see the picture of him from Mallrats, dressed up as the host of the Tonight Show, and underneath it says Brody Bolts.
Yeah, that's the best.
so it's like they fixed that continuity problem of, he was the host of the Tonight Show in this universe, but he left to open his own comic book store.
I think they actually mentioned that at the end of Mallrats, that he briefly hosted the Tonight Show, but then went to open a comic shop.
Yeah. So
he just he was at a local game show. They're like, okay, you're on the Tonight Show now.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck this.
But so they because they go to him to try to figure out what they should do, and he's the one that says, well, you can just stop it because it's based on your likeness rights. So and he's like, you can get a bunch of money for this. So anyway, Banky's the one that's on the set, and the cops show up at the set and everything. Marshall Willenholly's there about Suzanne, and actual police are there for the jewelry stuff and everything, and they all kind of converge at once, and there's a big firefight and everything, and they're all kind of hiding out, and they're talking to Banky about this and everything, and Banky's like, hey, I'll give you half of the royalty check that I got from this. And so they just kind of, and at that point they're just kind of like, oh, okay, well, we didn't want our reputations destroyed, but for money, I guess we'll do it.
I can't remember who it was, but doesn't Willenholly just shoot someone right in the head? Was it a movie?
I think he shoots. I think it's. Yeah, it might be Willem. I think it's in the shoulder though. I don't think he actually kills him. I think he just shoots.
It was either movie or a very sly reference to the movie Death to Smoochie.
Oh yeah. No, I think you're right. I think it was Mooby. I think it was whoever was playing Mooby. I think you're right.
The Golden Cow.
But then Justice shows up. She's been feeling guilty and all this stuff, and she ends up turning herself in for the crime and everything. And so Jay and Silent Bob are off the hook. They've got their royalty check and everything, and they track down everyone that said stuff that was bad about them on the internet. This is how the movie ends, and it's all like 14-year-old kids and stuff like that.
But that's the best part.
They mercilessly beat the shit out of them.
And they use all their like hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars just to travel across country, beating the shit out of children.
Yeah, who said bad things about them on the internet, and that is, it's a densely packed movie. It is hilarious, and like I said, if you take the time, or if you're someone like Mike and I that has already done this, to listen to all the commentary tracks and stuff like that, it's one of the most immersive comedy experiences that I've ever been a part of, and it was I would, as far as this is like we said, this is probably not objectively his best movie or anything like that as far as filmmaking goes, but I think this is kind of like his tour de force. This is like his thesis statement of all his movies.
His love letter to everybody who's not put up with, but who's followed him throughout the years.
Yeah, I think that's.
And I could be wrong, but doesn't this even end with Alanis Morissette closing the book on View Askew?
Oh yeah, I think it does.
Which, of course, Alanis Morissette played God in Dogma, which I don't think I could ever talk about Dogma enough. That's a fucking amazing movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think at this point, the whole idea was to move on to other movies, which he kind of did and did not do with varying degrees of success.
Yeah, for sure. You're absolutely right. This, he hadn't intended this. I know he said this before. He intended this to be his last Jay and Silent Bob movie, that last View Askewniverse movie. He wanted to do other movies, but he didn't want to be beholden to the Jay and Silent Bob and the shared universe thing, which is weird because it's not weird. It's normal to want to move on like that artistically, but it's funny to think that basically Kevin Smith did a shared universe kind of thing before Marvel did, before any of the other things. He was the first one that had this shared movie universe.
Yeah, what's funny, and speaking of Marvel, I was reading, because when Stan Lee passed away, I naturally looked to Kevin Smith on Twitter, because obviously he was a huge fan of Stan Lee. Mm-hmm. Stan Lee supposedly had some issues. I can't speak to it because I'm not personally involved with his caretakers. And Kevin Smith, being a good guy in general, just offered to let Stan Lee live with them.
Yeah.
And and as I don't know if he mentioned this or not before, but Stan Lee was a huge part of Mallrats.
Yep.
He's basically the crux of the movie. TS the whole time is not sure what to do, and then Stan Lee gives him this weird little speech that we later find out is a reference to a storyline with the Vulture from Spider-Man.
Yep.
So he's a huge Stan Lee fan. Obviously, I mean, he likes I think Batman's his favorite, but Kevin Smith, being a comic book fan, is a huge fan of Stan Lee.
Yeah. Definitely, and Stan Lee's was definitely a huge part of Mallrats. I mean, a short scene, but like you said, a very important scene in Mallrats. And then he's been in a few other Kevin Smith movies as well, in little cameo type roles. But yeah, that's like you said, I don't know a ton about the stuff with his caretaker and everything, but I have heard the same thing. I've heard the same stories you have about that stuff. Sure. Some unfortunate stuff there, but yeah, I mean,
right.
What a nice guy Kevin Smith for offering his home and stuff.
Yeah, so like I was saying, I was looking at Kevin Smith's, when Stan Lee passed away, and he didn't comment at this time because it was, California time, and he's probably in the middle of something. But I saw what was interesting was someone asked him about the Marvel Universe, and they said, "Are you ever going to do a comic book movie?" Mm-hmm. I know he was in talks of with doing Superman at one point, yep. Or at least writing it. There's a whole movie called Comic Book Movie, which he talks about that in. But interestingly enough, he says he did do a comic book movie. Do you know what comic book movie he did do?
Dogma,
yep. Yeah. Dogma in Kevin Smith's mind. And in mine, too, is a comic book movie. That's a perfect comic book, if you think about it.
Yeah, I agree. Like I read the same tweet. That's why I cheated. That's why I knew what you were talking about. But I read that same tweet where he talked about how Dogma was his like the Avengers before they did the Avengers, and I was like, fuck, I wish we would have read this before we talked about Dogma
Yeah,
because
he's
because
not wrong. I mean, it's a
no.
great. It would be a great comic book.
Absolutely, it makes perfect sense, and the way each of the people has kind of their own sort of ability. There's the muse, there's the apostle, there's the prophets, there's the scion, there's
The Metaron.
yeah, and the the angels, Bartleby and Loki, and everything. And even Loki is a reference to
An artist.
but yeah, like they're all different kinds of people with different abilities, different backgrounds, and stuff like that. And it makes perfect sense as structured.
Oh
in that
yeah,
way.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, even though I think they made a comic out of it, I could be wrong.
Ah, they
I
might
know a lot of
have.
his works he has made. But yeah, it's a weird theme because generally comics aren't like based on a religious type, tale and that sort of thing. But I mean, it's a fucking perfect comic book movie.
Yeah.
There's references to other, comic book / movies. It's perfectly a comic book movie.
Oh yeah. Well, Constantine's a comic too. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie with Keanu
Yeah,
Reeves.
I'm a huge Keanu Reeves fan, but it's Hellblazer by the great Alan Moore, who did The Watch.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's got a lot of religious tones to it too. Obviously.
I've heard it's not like the comic at all. I haven't really read the comic, but I know a little bit about the character.
There's a lot of differences for sure, but yeah, he's like John Constantine's basically he's like on Earth to atone for all the terrible things that he did when he was alive. That's kind of the plot of
Yeah,
it.
in the comics, and oddly enough, we talked about this before, but I think John Constantine made.
What'd you say? You cut out there for a second.
John Constantine first made an appearance in a Swamp Thing comic.
Oh, really? Now that I did not know.
Yeah, which also was done by the great Alan Moore.
Yeah, Alan Moore.
But like basically, he was almost an anti-hero. Like John Constantine in the Hellblazer comics was like, he would like save you if he could, but he was more interested in his own arcane mastery / power.
Mm-hmm.
And the really fucking weird part about that is Alan Moore, who I love the guy, but he's very odd.
Oh yeah, for
He
sure.
claimed that he was at a restaurant in London, and he ran into the character John Constantine. He claimed he saw his own character appear.
Oh my god.
And he saw him in a restaurant, and he went like up the character that he created, who existed, which makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
He said he went upstairs, and when he went to follow him, he wasn't there anymore.
That is funny. That does not surprise me at all, though. I heard a story about him that Alan Moore. That now, like I said, this is a story. I have no, I have no evidence that this actually happened, but this is what I heard from somebody who went to Comic-Con, and like we've established, I don't go to Comic-Con because I'm not a nerd. But
I've got at least 2 separate comic conventions.
sorry, Mike. You don't. You don't.
I have a good story about that too.
But anyway, I heard from somebody, not Mike, that went there that actually met Alan Moore, and they sort of recognized him, but not really. And they were like, "Oh, you've written a bunch of like comic books, right?" And he looked at them deadpanned and said, "I've never written a comic book in my life," and just walked away.
But yeah, there's 2 comic conventions, and we obviously live in Metro Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly will not get the names right. One's the Michigan Comic Con. I think that's the one in Livonia.
Okay.
I could be wrong. David Gibbons, the guy who did all the art for The Watchmen, was there a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one that I think it was their first year, and I was kind of shocked because they had a lot of like really big name, like people for like sci-fi / comic / fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
And my family, my 2 kids and wife, and I are huge fans of Futurama.
Oh yeah.
And lo and behold, who was there? Billy West.
Oh really? Now see, I might have gone to see Billy West.
Yeah, we specifically went just to see Billy West. We had a park, and we walked like a mile and a half down the beautiful Detroit river, walk, which is amazing. It was really nice that time of year. There was like 5,000 gnats, I think, attacking everybody. But other than that, it was, amazing.
It really is beautiful down there.
Yeah, so we went down, we went to there, and it was like almost closing time, and we were kind of, we thought kind of like maybe everyone would be gone because it was closing time.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we paid the fee, we went in, and much to our delight, the person we went to go see, Billy West, is still there. It was like an hour until closing, and he was still there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one person in line ahead of us. He's jibber jabbering. Billy West is a very nice, person to talk to. He'll go on and on. The guy even asked him to say, "Shut up and take my money." He said that, Alliance from Futurama. So me, my wife, and our daughter, who's 10 years old at the time, go in for a picture with Billy West. He puts his arm around us. He's not a giant guy, but we knew that going in. And then he tells us a nice little tale. He goes, "Oh yeah, I grew up here in Detroit." He goes, "Oh man, it was really fucked up." He goes, my father, he had a loaded .38 revolver in his top drawer. I often dreamed about taking it out of the top drawer and shooting him in the head because he was so abusive to me and my mother.
Oh my God.
I'm like, "Oh, okay, thank you. Thanks for that."
What the fuck?
Yeah, and I'm like, that's fine for me and my wife, but my 10-year-old, I don't think he needs to know that about Philip Seymour Fry.
Wow, so Billy West just uses fans as his own personal therapists. Oh my God.
Yes, he does.
That is hilarious.
He was a nice guy. We enjoyed, seeing him, but it was a little more than we had bargained for.
Oh, shit. Oh, wow. Well, that is worth it. If that's what goes on at Comic-Con, I guess I'll start going.
That was worth it.
Oh. But, yeah, so speaking of worth it, I don't know if this next movie is worth it. No, I'm just joking. But the next movie, and we'll try to get through some of these a little quick.
Yeah, a lot of them, no offense, deserve to be gone through pretty.
Yeah. But the next one up is 2004's Jersey Girl. This was like Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez were dating at the time. They were like a big Hollywood couple. They were really well known. Paparazzi was taking pictures of them all over the place. And
they were canoodling.
That's right. They were seen canoodling. But what a scoop! But because of that, this movie was sort of billed as like a Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez movie, even though Jennifer Lopez is not in the movie for more than, I don't know, like 3 minutes. But unfortunately for Kevin Smith and the box office of this film, the Jennifer Aniston, the Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez movie, Geely, came out just before this movie did.
Yes, that was quite unfortunate.
And it was an enormous bomb. And it was a terrible movie. And it was. I know it was talked about at the time. I don't think anyone's talked about it in years. But at the time, it was talked about as one of the worst films ever made.
Yeah, it was. I've seen parts of it. It's not good at all.
And so that really hurt because the marketing was already in place before that movie bombed. That really hurt the film. And I if that movie had come out a little bit before, I am positive that they would have shifted the marketing to Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck, because Liv Tyler is the love interest that's in the movie more. But just to real quick to summarize, basically Ben Affleck's a media publicist, and his wife is played by Jennifer Lopez. She dies of an aneurysm during childbirth at the very beginning of the movie. So like I said, she's really only on screen with him for a couple minutes.
Yeah, if that. Life is a series of down notes.
Yeah, exactly. But so he buries himself in his work, ignores his new daughter. George Carlin plays a big role in this film, and he's Ben Affleck's dad. And he takes a month off work and comes to help him take care of this kid. And after a month, he says he's leaving. He's going back to work because his son, needs to step up and actually take care of this child who, you can tell he's kind of feeling resentment for and everything because, indirectly she's responsible for the death of his wife and her mother and everything. Obviously, nothing she can really be blamed for, but that's, he's going through the stages of grief and that's where he's putting his anger. So, he's under a lot of stress and everything. He's not sure how to take care of the baby. The baby won't stop crying. He ends up trashing Will Smith, who is his client, and the film Independence Day, because this is the flashback portion of the movie. This takes place,
Welcome to Earth.
right. Which I can't really blame him for trashing Independence Day. I know everybody loved Independence Day when it came out, but
I did not.
But go back and watch that movie. It does not hold up. That is a terrible, terrible movie.
Couple weird things about Independence Day, since we're going on a tangent, and by we I mean I.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think Will Smith actually says "Welcome to Earth." He says "Welcome to Earth." For some reason, there's like a meme of him saying "Earth."
Yeah.
But he does not say Earth. He says Earth.
Yeah, he says it correctly.
Another point that I think is really kind of odd is Harry Connick Jr. is in this movie as well. He's like a co-pilot or like another pilot.
Mm-hmm.
He's not good in this movie, but have you ever seen the movie Copycat?
Yeah.
He's really good in Copycat.
He's actually a pretty good actor. He's not good in this movie, but he's a good actor.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I think he could have had a good career as an actor. I mean, maybe Independence Day kind of fucked that up.
Yeah, it's just and the part where the alien wraps its tentacle around Bill Pullman's throat and then communicates telepathically with him and stuff, and then Bill Pullman gets released and he's just like, I saw their plan, I know what they're gonna do, and he just launches into the exposition of why they're there and stuff. It's the laziest writing. It's so terrible.
Yes, that and the whole Jeff Goldblum Apple computer thing is really fucking dumb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another thing is, and there's going to be some controversy over this amongst our, huge fans in the blogosphere.
Right.
But Randy Quaid is fucking funny as shit in this.
Oh, yeah, he is.
I mean, mind you, this is way before the Hollywood star whackers got a hold of him.
Right. That's a story, real quick, not to interrupt you, but that is a story that we don't have time for now, but that's a story that on one of our podcasts, we need to go through the story of the descent of Randy Quaid and the Hollywood Star Whackers, because that is
we should do that next time.
Yeah,
and there's another sub story to that. My friend Matt came up with a theory called the Hollywood Hangman.
Okay,
it's fucking funny as shit.
Does it involve carotene and stuff like that?
Dude, there's a lot of people who have hung themselves who are involved in celebrity type things.
Right.
Carradine, Kate Spade, she hung herself.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Chris Cornell hung himself, allegedly.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a really ridiculous theory that has some merit to it.
All right, well, we will definitely get in. We'll do maybe next when we're done with the Kevin Smith movies, we'll do a Hollywood conspiracy theory one, and we can feature a few of them.
That'd be good. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Top dog. But I'm sorry, you were talking about Jersey Girl. I've seen this movie and I did not dislike it. It's not a movie that's usually up my alley. I'm more of an action movie fan. Mm-hmm. It's actually very well directed, which, as we've mentioned before, Kevin Smith, in my opinion, and yours, I think as well, isn't the best director, but this is well directed, I thought.
I think this is his best directed film. And, it's one of those where it's it's not an award-winning film. It's not, a hilarious film, but it's very charming. It's a love story between a dad and a daughter, first, before it's a love story between the the man and the woman.
Yeah.
But it's a very charming movie. It's a sweet movie. It certainly didn't deserve to critically fail the way it did. It definitely didn't deserve any of the hate it got. Like I said, it's probably his best directed movie. It's a good movie.
See, I would say it's his second best directed movie. And then we'll talk about his best directed movie later.
Okay.
But I have a question for you, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
If you were Steven Tyler and you could get any woman in the world, who would you?
If I was Steven Tyler and I could get any woman in the world, who would it be? I say Liv Tyler.
I couldn't remember. Is that from the Clerks animated series?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a weird fucking part.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Oh, I love Clerks animated series so much.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure. We'll probably talk about that last, I guess. Even though chronologically it's not last, but since it's sort of separated from the movies, I do want to talk about it. That'll probably, like, next week when we do this, that'll probably be the last one we do.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, what's after Jersey Girl?
So after Jersey Girl is Clerks 2, 2006.
Gotcha.
Clerks 2 is, it's a continuation of Clerks. They got fired from the convenience store. We see at the beginning of the movie why they got fired from the convenience store. And basically Jay and Bob get them fired. And so they go to work at Moopy's. And Dante is single still, but he's in love with Rosario Dawson's, or no, he's not single, but he's in love with Rosario Dawson's.
Yeah, he's engaged again.
Yeah, he's engaged again and in love with another woman again. But it's in some ways it's a similar story to Clerks. It's certainly not a reboot at all. It's definitely a continuation of their story, but really the only kind of significant thing from Clerks 2 that comes out of it is the fact that they end up buying, at the end of the movie, spoilers for this movie, at the end of the film, they end up buying the video store and the convenience store, and they do it because Jay and Bob give them the money that they got from the royalties from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Wonder how that video store business is doing right now.
Yeah, no kidding. Randall is in there all by himself. He probably loves it.
Yeah, probably.
But so they end up doing that, and buying them out and kind of being their own bosses and stuff like that. Clerks 2 is one of those things where the ending is a satisfying conclusion to the characters, but the film itself is sort of a mess.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I really appreciate and enjoy the characters, Dante and Randall. I mean, they're both great actors. They're hilarious. There's some good jokes in this movie.
Yep.
Again, I think I mentioned this when we were watching Clerks, and I was kind of shocked to see it, that Dante is on his whole, bit of painting women's toenails. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I'll watch Rosario Dawson in almost anything. I mean, I am a big fan. If I mean, she's good in this. I mean, Dante's good in this. Randall's good in this. But the movie, it's almost unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I mean, if you want to wrap up the storyline of the Clerks, like I said, it's a decent wrap up of their storyline. It gives you like kind of a satisfying, happy ending for them of owning, their own business and all that stuff and everything. But yeah, there's a pretty humorous exchange about a debate between the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, those two movie franchises, and which one's better and stuff like that. And then,
that's full like comic / geek / mode that Kevin Smith really excels at. But I mean, that's a nice highlight. But I mean, I think the performances are good. The actors are good. The guy who plays the I don't know, is it the other employee, the younger guy with a long
Oh yeah, the young kid.
I think he's a good actor, but like the dialogue is really not that great in this movie. I don't think it's a good. I don't think it's a good movie in general.
Yeah, it's a rare, you know, especially in the
A
view.
misfire for Kevin Smith.
Yeah, in the View Askew universe, you know, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, obviously, but yeah, it's certainly just kind of not up to standard. I don't I don't find it super funny in any way really.
Yeah, I can't imagine Kevin Smith at the beginning of pre-production is like, "Hey, hey Brian, hey Jeff, you want to make some more money?" They're like, "Yeah, I guess."
Yeah,
That's how Crooks do it.
yeah, and I mean, you know, I'm glad they got jobs.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
definitely deserve it.
yeah, they for sure deserve it. They're both great actors. They're iconic, in their performances, and obviously Clerks, and we can't ignore Brian O'Halloran's performances in Mallrats. What was he, Gil Hicks?
Gil Hicks, yeah,
And
Gil.
he's also in the best Kevin Smith movie, which everyone would agree on, Dogma.
Yep,
As what's his name in that one?
Grant Hicks.
Yeah, so he's a Hicks for life.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, he's the reporter Grant Hicks in there, and he's in. I think he's in Chasing Amy too, but I just don't remember where.
And James Bob, both of them are at the very beginning,
Yep.
which is the first performance slash appearance of Harley Quinn Smith.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. As baby Bob.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to Harley Quinn Smith later. And Kevin, if you're listening, we're gonna talk about Yoga Hosers next week. And don't worry, you don't have to tune out. I don't know what Mike's gonna say about it.
Please forgive us for Yoga Hosers in
But-
our review.
I don't know what Mike's gonna say about it, but I will tell you that one of the very, very few things that I will give praise for about Yoga Hosers is your daughter and her chemistry with Lily Depp. That's like pretty much the only good thing about the movie. So you don't have to.
On a scale from shit to fucking shit, it's, oh my god, that's fucking shit.
But yeah, you can listen, maybe with gritted teeth, but you can listen because I'm certainly not going to trash your daughter because she is the highlight of the movie.
Yeah, the performances and Yoga Hosers are good, but oh my god, that's a terrible movie.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Clerks 2. I think we've kind of said everything.
It's a
I need
movie.
to say about it. Yep, that's the best I can say. It's a movie. The last
What's after that?
Yeah, the last one that we'll talk about today, and then we'll have 4 to talk about next week, but probably at least 2 of them will be real quick. The last one that we have to talk about today is Zac and Miri Make a Porno, 2008. Another departure, like Jersey Girl, from the View Askew universe. So this is the Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks movie, and for those of you who haven't seen it, and judging by the box office results, there's a lot of you. It's it's basically they live in Pennsylvania. Interestingly, one of the few that kind of don't have New Jersey as a primary thing, but they live in Pennsylvania. They're big Pittsburgh Penguins fans, like you said, Mike, last week. Lots of hockey references, and the Penguins are a big one in this one. But anyway, so I think I'm trying to remember they need money, right? Yeah,
They make a porno.
yeah, I know they make a porno.
Oh, their electric bill is sour.
That's
Zac
right.
and Miri are lifelong friends,
Yep.
obviously played by Elizabeth Banks and Seth. And their bills they basically both work in like a Starbucks kind of rip off, like minimum wage, like coffee shop type thing.
Yep.
And so they're like completely poor and they have no money, and they're about to have their rent check due and their electricity cut off and everything cut. I don't remember how they come to this realization, but they're like, "Oh, hey, let's make a porno movie in the coffee shop, and that'll pay all our."
I think she goes to a reunion, if I remember, or they both.
Oh
they
yeah,
both go
that's
to a
right.
reunion.
And I have to say, this is a fucking hilarious performance by shit. It's is it? It's not Jason. It's not Jason Schwartzman, or is it?
Oh, the gay guy, yeah. Oh, what's his name?
Is it one of the guys who played Super Brandon Roth? Brandon Roth?
Yeah, I know.
Rouse?
Brandon Routh, yeah, that's right.
And Justin Long, that's who it is.
Yeah, Justin Long and Brandon Routh. Yeah, Superman's Brandon Routh. That's right.
Yeah, Miri, I think it's Miri wants to fuck Brendan Routh, but it turns out, hey, he's in Dudes, and he's with Justin Long. And Justin Long is fucking funny as shit in this role.
Yeah, for sure.
So she's like, oh, okay, our whole, big build up to the high school reunion doesn't make sense because he's not into
Yeah, it turns out that he's gay and a porn star.
big time.
And so yeah, they get inspired because I think they see there's someone makes a viral video of her, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't remember what it is.
In granny panties.
Yeah, granny. That's right. The video is granny panties.
Right, and so they decide that they're gonna make a Star Wars parody pornography movie.
Which again is like perfectly classic Kevin Smith. He wants to escape the View Askew universe, but there's still these like things he's obsessed with his whole life that he keeps coming back to. And of course, Star Wars is one of the big.
Oh yeah, and well, like you can't keep yourself out of the creative process for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how you feel about this movie, but I actually really like the movie. I've seen it edited and unedited. And it's I think it's funny. It's not the best movie I've ever seen in my whole life, but it's a movie I enjoy watching. When it's on, I'll watch it again.
This is how I look at this movie. There are so many uninspired, terrible Melissa McCarthy comedy movies. Not to single her out, and I think I don't hate Melissa McCarthy or anything like that, but a lot of the movies she's in are bad. But think of a movie like that. There are so many just uninspired. I can write the plot of this movie. I can tell you what the next joke that's going to come up is. There's so many of those around. There are not enough comedies.
Yeah, when that
like
joke's
this.
hailing a cab.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's not enough movies like this. There are not enough comedies like this. It's it's not tied to anything like his other movies. It's it doesn't have a lot of inside jokes or anything like that. You probably need a passing knowledge of Star Wars to get a couple of the jokes, but other than that, it's just a solid, broad comedy. I think it's it's a little more subversive because there's the porn elements to it and stuff like that. But if I was to compare it to Orgasmo, say, a movie both of us have seen from the creators of South Park, a movie we should talk about at some point too.
I love Orgasmo. That's a great movie.
Yeah. Now, if you compare it to that, it's sort of comparable to that. It's not as funny as Orgasmo, and it's not as clever as Orgasmo is, but it is because it's more this one's more mainstream than Orgasmo would be, but it's a funny, somewhat subversive mainstream comedy. I would compare it to like The Hangover or a movie like that. I think there are a lot of good jokes in the movie. I think it's a really solid film, and I definitely, if we were doing a Siskel and Ebert thing, I would give it a thumbs up or a 3.5 stars or.
Yeah, I'd give it like a thumb, like going like horizontal, and then like slightly up.
Yeah,
it's not a bad movie. Like I said, I watch it whenever it's on.
Yep.
Seth Rogen was probably at like one of the height of like his like career, or not that his career's over, but I mean he was really popular at the time.
Yeah, as far as like his comedic acting career goes, I know he does a lot with Preacher now and some of the other like stuff that he's created and everything. But yeah, as far as his acting career, for sure, he was pretty close to the peak.
Elizabeth Banks is really good in it. Jason Mewes is also in it.
Yes.
He's good. I mean, he's not like his usual over the top type of character. Is he a sound man? I don't remember.
Yeah, I believe that's that it, and that is a good thing.
He's good in this.
Yeah, he's the role isn't Jay of like Jay and Silent Bob, and he plays it. There's a different like you can tell he's not just one note. He it's a more subtle, a more subdued performance, and I think he's an overlooked kind of like gem of this movie. He's
He's really solid.
Good. Yeah, I agree. Very solid performance in this movie.
I mean, it's not a bad movie. I'd rather watch this than any other like rom-com type movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's well directed. It's not his best directorial work, which I would say is Red State of all his movies ever. I think Red State is his best directing.
Yeah, and I'm going to rewatch that before we talk about that next week because last time I saw it was probably like a couple of years ago. But
I haven't seen it in a while, but Red State is a really good movie.
But yeah, so it's one of those that if it's on Netflix or if it's on TV or whatever, and it comes on and you haven't seen Zac and Miri Make a Porno, I would absolutely recommend watching it. I think it's a solid, funny movie.
Yeah, there's some really like emotional scenes too, like when Zac and Miri first have intercourse.
Yep.
Like there's like some really great acting on both parts of Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, and that's not an easy thing to like and I knew going into this that Elizabeth Banks was a pretty good actress. But I didn't realize kind of like the range that Seth Rogen could go to either. And like you said, they both do an amazing job in some difficult situations.
There's a real chemistry between the two of them.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Tracy Lords is in this too.
She is. Yep.
Yeah, she's good too. I mean, she was in. I don't know if you ever watched her on Roseanne.
Yeah, I've seen her on Roseanne. Yep.
Yeah, she's funny in that. She's in the show Profiler, which she's good in that too.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of her movies. Obviously, not the early, but she's good in this too. I mean, everyone in this movie is good. It's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie, but it's a solid movie.
Yep, for sure. Definitely.
And like I said earlier, Justin Long is really funny in that.
Yeah, Justin Long is maybe the standout as far as the comedic side of this movie is. He's hilarious in this movie. But yeah, so that is the show for today. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you're looking for us online, as always, you can find us on Twitter at Massive Late Fee, on Facebook, Massive Late Fee. You can email the show, massivelatefee@gmail.com. You can visit our Patreon. I'll link all this below. I think it's Patreon /massivelatefee.com. And then our audio commentaries on Bandcamp over at massivelatefee.bandcamp.com or whatever it is. But I'll link all that below. And if you want to check out our audio commentaries, you want to check out you want to support the show from Patreon, or the other thing too is tell a friend about the show. That helps out as much as anything does.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, spread the word. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank Jason for our theme. I want to thank Miranda and Leah for our Patreons. That's about it for tonight. You got anything to say, Mike?
No, just as usual, a shout out to my friends Phil, the tattoo artist, Rob Towell for supporting Savage Worlds from the beginning. That's about it. Happy birthday to my wife.
Yep, happy birthday to... do you want me to say her name or no?
I don't think she cares.
All right, happy birthday, Alex.
You son of a bitch!
You broke the rules!
Fuck Scandinavia.
Yep. Fuck Sweden, fuck Denmark,
Hooray for
fuck
you,
Finland.
Randy Savage and your brother Leapin' Lenny Poffa.
And
who might be alive, I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? And Bjork in Iceland, we see you, we hate you.
Fuck you.
All right, everybody, have a good night. Bye.